You're listening to Spark TV, where we bring you daily interviews with real women in business at all stages. I'm your host, Danielle Lewis, and I am so grateful to have you here. Oh my God, so good. Taryn, welcome to Spark TV.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here because, I don't often get to meet guests in real life, but we did start our journey. So through another female founder at a little event and sat next to each other, and now you're here on the podcast. So
Yeah,
how amazing is networking?
I know. I know. It's always so good. And things like that, where it was like a weeknight and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go out. But then it always ends up leading to something. There's always a reason for those networking things, aren't there? There's always something that comes from it.
It's so true. And I'm the same. It's like once 5 o'clock hits, I'm like, I want to get in my PJs. I want to sit on the couch. I'd like a glass of wine. And that's the day done, you know?
Well, we did
But
have spicy margaritas, so we
that's true. We did.
there was
I
there
haven't
was
had a margarita in so long. And that was just so much fun.
yeah.
Oh,
Agreed.
so good. So now that we've made everyone jealous, let's tell everyone who you are and what you do.
So I'm Taryn Watson and I'm a pelvic health physio, which I think is becoming a bit more well known now what that is. But basically, I'm a physio who doesn't work with knees and hips and backs very much. I work with pelvic floors. I work with vaginas. So I have gone and done a master's degree in pelvic health physiotherapy, and then I've started a business called Fit Right since then. And the actual business is about 12 years old, few iterations, and right now it's the mainstay of Fit Right is a women's health clinic. So it's a multidisciplinary clinic with GPs, dietitian, pelvic health physios, musculoskeletal physios, exercise classes, all in the one clinic. And yeah, that's what I really am passionate about, is pulling all those puzzle pieces together for women under the one roof and the one banner to help with very, very common and often very embarrassing pelvic health conditions and other women's health conditions. And yeah, that's where my business has ended up now.
I love this on so many levels because I love the journey story, but also because I'm an old person now, and discovering all of the wonderful things about being a woman and
We're the
how,
same age, I believe,
yeah.
actually. Jenny, I was listening to another podcast episode where you said your age, and I actually believe we are the same age.
There you go. How did this happen to us? I don't know. It's so funny, but it's so true. I am just now, I guess I've been pretty lucky my whole life. I've been one of those people where it's just like, everything will be fine, everything will be fine. And then I think you hit an age and then it's like all of a sudden nothing is fine. And I really feel like, the general GP that you go to when you have a cold sometimes has no idea about what you're talking about. And I think that women's bodies are so beautiful yet complex.
Yeah.
So having somewhere that women can go for all of those different things is pretty exciting and kind of revolutionary. Like, it's kind of a shame that it's revolutionary, but so nice that it exists.
Yes, yeah, and that light bulb moment happened for me quite early in my career when I started, we're talking nearly 20 years ago, when I was a baby physio and working at a private hospital on a maternity ward. Excuse me, and in the outpatient clinic there, and I would be seeing these women for treatment. We can do physio treatment for mastitis and
Mm.
damaged nipples, and then they would come and see me for these treatments that would really help. But then I knew that the other puzzle pieces were that they would have to see a lactation consultant and they'd have to see a GP if they needed antibiotics. And these poor women coming to this big hospital and finding parking with a newborn and then coming to see me, and then I'm telling them they have to go do this and that. And that was where the current iteration of the business stemmed from, way back then, when I was like, what if such a common issue like that, like
Mm.
breastfeeding issues like that, could all be under the one roof instead of women having to source it. And that's in the newborn phase, which is extremely important, but also perimenopause, also chronic pelvic pain, also prolapse, also, postnatal rehab and pregnancy care. And like, why are we having to go to all these different places and work out ourselves where the gold standard is in all these different places? Like you said,
Mm.
it it shouldn't be revolutionary, and it is becoming more common now to have multidisciplinary women's health clinics. But definitely, when it was in my head back then, nothing like that existed.
So talk to me about your journey. So how did we get here? Where did you start? What was the career? And yeah, how did we get to the clinic we have today?
Yeah, well, I think even before that point, so even before 18 or 19 years ago at that private hospital, in university days, I remember talking with friends at university, one friend in particular, who's now my business partner, um, about this idea of like a women's health clinic with everything under the one roof. Um, and then I went down that path at the working at this private maternity hospital in Perth. And then while I was there was a gap in the market that I saw, which was that we were running, and I was running multiple classes of these a week. They were aqua pregnancy and postnatal classes, like in the
Oh,
water.
yep.
And so I loved instructing those classes, but I was also becoming a Pilates instructor. And I did a whole year of training to become a Pilates instructor. And I was like, oh, I want to run a version of that's Pilates, but physio clinics don't have space to run 10 or 12 person classes inside them. It's too
Mm.
noisy with all the babies. And why doesn't this exist, and how can I make this happen? So that was 2014
Wow.
that that was when the Fit Right name came about, and my bosses at the time let me go off and do this on the side and hire spaces in community halls and things. And I ended up training other physiotherapists to do these, at the time, 6 week programs. They're now 8 weeks. And yeah, pregnancy and postnatal exercise classes where one of the big things was that we had baby cuddling volunteers to look after the babies while the mums are exercising. And those classes still exist now. We still run those, have an 8 week course starting this week. Like that's been, what's that? 12 years.
Wow.
So that's where it all started. But that 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 grew really quickly, but it was just me managing it with my mum as my business manager for a while, like in the background.
I love mums in the business journey.
Yeah. And I'm working full time and I'm doing my master's and I'm trying to do that at the same time, and I'm getting married and then trying to have my own
My
kids
God.
and fertility journey over that time. And it was a lot, and I didn't have any experience in business. And although it looked really good from the outside, it got, to the point where there were
Mm.
like 20 locations of these classes with about, at one point there was 35 or 40 instructors who were trained and actively running
Wow.
classes and stuff. But behind the scenes, it was really, really tricky. Like it was really overwhelming, and it was me holding wearing all the hats. And from a finance point of view, there were things going on in the background where I would get, because I was getting paid in advance for those courses, it was quite quickly snowballing, well, over time, snowballing, so that I was spending and, having this pool of money for expenses. But then it was the end of the course, I'd have to pay the instructors, and I was ending up taking money from the next course to pay the instructors for the previous course. And it wasn't until I had my own children and I kept it going, and then COVID hit and we had to close down. And it was
Wow.
finally at that point that it was like, oh my goodness, I have to pay the previous instructors with no next course coming in. And it was just like, that was rock bottom. That was like, it had been struggling for a while through my journey of having my two kids and just keeping it going with all these stresses. And then that was the point where I was like, right, okay, if I'm going to get this back up and running. And we pivoted to online classes really quickly. But I was like, if I'm going to survive this, something
Mm.
to change. And so the clinic actually came about that was 2021. So that was like within a year after all the stuff happening with COVID.
Wow.
I had partnered with Jess, my business partner, who at the time had been my operations manager. She's a physio too, and was on maternity leave. And yeah, we launched the clinic in 2021 with the classes still attached to it, but now only the employees of the clinic run the classes, and the classes are only in 3 locations, not 20.
Oh my God, that's wild. And also really interesting. COVID was such a massive reset, I think, for a lot of business. It's actually really funny. I have a similar story leading into COVID. You know, my previous business was kind of that real touch and go, like, got to kind of relying on the next thing to sort the last thing out. And COVID was the great equalizer of you've got to like really actually face what's going on and make changes, if you want this thing to keep going. So I always love a good COVID story. What
My
was that
COVID
like for you
story.
though? Like, how did that feel?
It was really tough because it felt like a failure because the business at that point was 7 years old, or it was a really
Mm,
it was a quite an established business. And like I said, from the outside I was getting so much praise from externally saying, wow, look at how big this is now and look how great this is. But internally I knew that I was just treading water,
yeah.
just keeping my head above water. And I mean, I had a when COVID hit, I had a 5-month-old and a 3-year-old. So like
Wow.
to suddenly go from just surviving and just keeping on top of the business stuff to suddenly having to pivot quite quickly and launch online classes and train up my staff to have online classes. And yeah, it was, and all at the same time, of course, having the 3-year-old who had been at daycare 3 days a week home with me, and a 5-month-old who suddenly didn't want to breastfeed because she's always looking at her brother, and we didn't have any quiet time. And then I'm like, where do I put these children while I'm trying to save this business? um yeah, that was really, really tough. But yeah, it did. I do sometimes wonder if COVID didn't happen, how much longer I would have struggled along with that awful feeling that something wasn't right and that it
Mm.
would implode at some point. Um,
You
it,
can, I've learned you can carry that feeling for a long time. You go, it'll be fine. One more time, like something will give. Like, you can say that to yourself for a really long time.
yeah, yeah, I was paying the instructors quite a high rate, thinking in my little non-business mind at the beginning, it's not fair what us physios get paid as a percentage. When I own my business, I'm going to pay my instructors better than the measly percentage that I've been paid. And then I started it from there. And I remember somebody else who owned a much bigger business than me asking me about my profit margins at one point, and I was explaining, the percentage that goes to the instructors and the percentage that goes to the rent of the halls, and they were like, oh. I was like, no, no, it's fine. We just need more classes. We just
It,
need, it'll be fine when we get to this point, and then the revenue will be this, and therefore the profit will be this, and that'll be great. And it's like, yeah, if the profit margin is 5% or less, it's like, it's only going to get to be a point where it's okay when it's up here. And I just, I knew it was not right. I just couldn't see how to get myself out of it.
yeah. And that's why that is so hard, right? Like when you're in it and it is that, you know, on what day of the week am I getting an hour to sit down and solve this problem because I've got 12 fires that I need to put out? It is one of those things that just you kind of carry that weight of like, oh my God, like, and when you are operating on such low margins, it just takes one thing to, and you, or when you go, and I can just imagine because I've done this too. You're just going, when is that thing happening? Like, what is it going to be? Oh my God. It's just, I don't think people understand stress like that, like financial stress in a business when everyone's relying on you. It's a wild amount of stress.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, especially when, like I said, when you've got people thinking that you're doing really well in
Yeah.
business. And that was actually a big milestone recently, was last year I applied for the WA Business Awards. And
Oh,
we were a finalist actually. And I
congratulations.
and I that was a real aha moment because I was like, oh my God, I now have a business that behind the scenes is as good as it is outwardly facing. Like I just have a sense of calm now
Mm.
compared to before because I know that, yeah, and to get recognition like that, that other people can see that this is a sustainable, profitable business model, is it's really, it makes me feel really good now because I know what it felt like to run a business that wasn't like that.
It's like I've said this before on the podcast. I wish, the hard thing is headlines in the media, right? It's always big fancy office or many studios or raised capital or did XYZ. And it's like, I want headlines that are like, she ran a profit this month, this business model is going to scale, like it's so boring. Everyone does look to the external metrics or the follower count or the this or the that. But yeah, if you don't have the boring stuff sorted, it's just, yeah, it's chaotic and stressful. So,
Yeah.
how did you get yourself there? I know COVID was obviously such a big proponent and kind of the kick up the bum, but like, how did you go from that to now feeling like, okay, I know my business model works, I know it's scalable, I know it's profitable, I can actually like sleep at night?
A really good business partner, and who compliments me with regards to her strengths, and my strengths are not the same. And so that I know now. Even now I know that I couldn't be running this business in this way with it being as successful as it is if I was doing this by myself. There's no way.
Mm,
So having her is really great. And also, we invested in business coaching, um,
nice.
quite a bit. We did, I think we've done two main courses over the last 4 or 5 years. One that was more a general business coaching course, and then one that was specific to female allied health clinic owners. And that's the coach we're still working on and off with now. And yeah, that was having someone handhold us little physios who didn't study business, and
Mm,
saying, okay. And I know that I know that this is what you do too. I've seen the modules that you go through as well. It's the same thing. It's so important to have somebody who can just go, okay, here's finance 101. Let's sit down and start with what we do here. This is marketing. This is what we do. And to go through that and to have Jess, who's much better at operations, finance, and management, and I'm better at marketing, promotion, mentoring, um, recruiting, that side of it. Yeah, it just works now.
that is literally the dream. I love that. And it is so true. I think sometimes as women in business, we do feel like we have to be experts at everything. And finding people that complement you or bringing in experts for even if it's just like one-off bits and pieces and tapping into people who've done it before is just, I just think it's like genius. It's like the hack short code for life,
Yeah.
because why have to figure it out yourself? Like we've both done that. We've both figured it out ourselves. Wasn't ideal. And then now like bringing in people who have experienced it both negative and positive and can impart that wisdom. I just think it's just the key to success.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think so too. And I think I've had other people who are doing similar businesses, ask, "What's your secret?" And I'm like, find a Jess.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Oh, isn't it funny?
I don't know. And like I said right at the beginning, Jess was one of my best friends from university. And we talked about something like this way back 20 plus years ago. So, like, to be here now and to be doing it with her,
Mm,
I just feel so lucky that we found each other back then and that we happened to work well together. We
yeah.
nothing has got, like, we're coming up to our 5 year. June will be our 5 year birthday for the clinic. And
Wow.
yeah, we've just we've just never not worked well together over that time. So I feel very lucky, but I do know how unusual that is. I
Yeah,
think
well,
it makes
I
it,
was about to say, okay, well, what's your secret for that? But
yeah.
I think it does really come down to finding that right person,
Yeah.
you know. Did you do any kind of like planning together, in the event of we don't love each other anymore?
Yeah, yeah, I guess you have to, don't you, at the beginning when you start, when you go into partnership as a business and you we had to create the new ABN and we had to do all this and as a partnership.
Mm,
Yeah, you have to create a partnership contract and go through all that stuff about like if this, then this, if this, then this. And, and there will be one day when one of us might want to sell and one of us doesn't, or there will be one day when, it won't go on forever. But yeah, I just feel very lucky that we found that we know that we can nut things like that out together.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is so good. And it always fascinates me as well. I mean, I see this a lot in, clinicians, allied health, but realistically, anyone who starts a business is you kind of have this expertise, but and a lot of people do then go on to starting their own clinic, but then yeah, where was the business training? It is really something that you just have to learn on the job, which is really, really challenging. So I love that idea of bringing
Yeah.
in support. It's yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, well, business coaching has definitely been an investment that's been one of the best things we've ever done.
So good. I love it. And now I'm always love, I mean, so you're 5 years into the new model. I always love to ask people how they attract their customers because a lot of people listening are like, I want to grow my business, and customers are a huge part of that. You mentioned you were on more on the marketing side. How have you grown the business over the last 5 years?
Yeah, obviously in multiple different ways. One of the big things that I love doing from a marketing point of view is every week I have an email newsletter that goes out. And that's such a lovely chance to write and to
Mm.
I like creating that long form content, and then I've got a marketing manager who puts that into short form content for other things. I also love liaising with other team members because obviously we've got this wealth of knowledge in our team. We've got 7 physios, 2 GPs, the dietitian, the team of lactation consultants. Like we've got all these people who know so much about different things in women's health. So to be able
Mhm.
to get them to also create some long form content and put that into that Monday email, and then for that to go elsewhere. That's been that. I think we're at 3 and a bit years now of every Monday having an email going.
Wow.
So that's been a
I love that consistency. That's so good.
yeah. And the other thing has been about attracting customers has been that I think I always thought that in allied health you had to have um, referrers, GPs, specialists, and that was the main way
Mm.
that you get new patients. But our tracking definitely shows that that's a smaller proportion of the people that come and find us. It's mainly word of mouth. Facebook and Instagram sometimes, and we do run meta ads, and those campaigns have been quite successful as well. But yeah, I think in general it's just having me and other team members talking candidly about the things that we do. I was just telling you before about how I'm starting a podcast, and the whole concept of that is showing how puzzle pieces can be brought together for different aspects of women's health and pelvic health.
Mm.
And I think that the more that we talk about these things candidly, and I get my face out there and, and we write, yeah, I think that's such a big part of my role. And I really love having the space in my week to be able to do that so that I can make sure that lots of people know about women's health physiotherapy and the rest of the team.
I just think, yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, that idea of storytelling, of sharing your expertise, of, people getting more of an understanding of a complex topic. I think that that strategy really applies across so many different businesses. And my love would be for every woman in business to take that approach because And that's actually something that I really changed over, I think, the last 12 months is just telling more of my story. And it's wild how well it's doing. It's because it's like, yeah, people do want to know about your experience. It's not just the end result and outcome. It's like, how did you actually get there? And I think when people learn to trust you based on those emails and that long form content, that just goes so far in helping people feel comfortable to come in and yeah, use the service.
I love telling stories as well from our clients' point of view, you know, of people who
Mm.
have used and put their puzzle pieces together and found success where they hadn't otherwise. That's tricky though, because that APRA, the regulatory board,
Mm.
we're not supposed to have any
Like testimonials. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we have to get creative with how we tell the stories of how we help women without using direct testimonial.
Yes, I know it is interesting. I mean, I think it's for good reason, but it really does make it challenging in this space, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, especially when you see other people in non-health practitioner roles who are, you know, maybe trying to attract the same clients as you, but they don't have the same regulatory body, making sure that they don't use the words like specialist when they're not a specialist, or
Mm.
you know, or testimonials about how things were fixed by seeing them, and yeah, we just have stricter policies on us, unfortunately. Well,
Yeah.
fortunately, but unfortunately, it's
Yeah, totally. But I think that's an interesting point around why then it is so important to go into the storytelling and sharing of the expertise and finding the creative ways because I think people also do get that you can't just be like, we'll cure everything, you do actually so that people have to do feel that trust and feel like they've been heard and that you do have the experience. So I love that that's kind of the way that you can still get there.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Oh, so good. I love it. Any new plans on the horizon? So we are almost mid 2026.
Yeah,
What does the next 6 months hold for you?
yeah. So the clinic is a 4-room clinic at the moment, and like I said, links to other exercise classes. The big aim would be to have an even bigger space where we've got the classes, space for the classes to run in-house
Mm,
rather than continuing to rent other spaces. So that's definitely on the horizon. Just can't find the ideal location yet, but I'm sure that will happen. And yeah, and then like I said, the podcast is my project of the moment to launch that soon, called the
I
Pelvic
love
Health.
this.
And so that and yeah, but the clinic at the moment, how it's going at the moment, is really, really good. Like
Yes.
if everything stayed as it was right now, this is a very happy place. It's just
Oh,
that, as I'm sure you feel as well, you always just have to look at what the next thing could be, and what what if this happened, do we have a backup? Where,
mhm.
and yeah, space in the clinic is definitely one of the limiting factors. So yeah,
I love that thought process because it's so, you do want to take that time to really appreciate where you are. And oh my God, you should be so, proud of what you've done and what you've built. And it's so nice to actually take a breath and appreciate that. But I totally get the idea that you're going, yes, however, the world still moves. So, what is that next thing and how do we expand or optimize or, create efficiencies or reach new people through new mediums? So, it is the balance of the business owner, isn't it? To kind of keep things under control, but always looking
yeah.
forward.
And that uneasy feeling, I get it often. Like I know that I should just be sitting in the good part, the high,
Yeah.
but there's always that little bit in the back that's like, what can you do next? Like, is this enough?
Yeah, totally. I think we love the pain, don't we? We love it.
No. I know.
Well, you'll have to share the podcast with me so that we can share it with our community when it goes live, because I think not only is it exciting from a business point of view and fabulous to watch other business owners do well, but I just think, there's going to be some important nuggets of wisdom in there for every woman who is listening. So we'll make sure that we share that as well.
Thank you.
So good. Oh my God, I could talk to you all day, but I always love to wrap up these podcasts with one last piece of advice. So, reflecting on your time in business, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to another woman on her business journey?
I think it would just, I think probably about perseverance and just about never losing track of the end picture, because that, and from my point of view, this end picture where I am now, which I'm sure won't be the end, but where I am now is what I had in my head 20 years ago, and it took a bit of a convoluted way to get there, but I didn't lose sight of what that picture looked like. And I think that I can remember saying in my head so many times in those tough times when things really did feel really heavy and financially difficult. And I just kept saying in my head, like, I am calm, I am happy, and I'm right where I'm supposed to be on my journey. And like I can just remember that being like my mantra and just seeing it as like a point on the journey. And that kept me grounded, that I was like, okay, this is tough, but this is I'm on my way. Like I know where this is heading, and I just one step at a time.
Oh my God, I feel like that was the advice I needed to hear today. So incredible. Taryn, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your journey and your wisdom. I know I took away so many nuggets of wisdom, so I'm sure everyone else has as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That wraps another episode of Spark TV. Shout out to Spark TV sponsor IP Australia for their amazing support of the Spark podcast and women in business. And if no one tells you today, you've got this.